Sir John Redwood.
Mr. Speaker, the mood outside this House is overwhelming that we should get on with it. And the nation heard the Prime Minister and Government promise on countless occasions that we would be leaving on the 29th of March 2019 with or without a deal. It's quite true, the Prime Minister always said she really wanted a deal and she expected to get a deal, but she never ruled out leaving without a deal, and she was right not to do so. Indeed, for many months, she used to say, no deal is better than a bad deal, and left open the possibility that what was on offer was so bad that it would be better just to leave. Now, I'm not someone who thinks we just leave. I think we leave with a series of deals, and I'm very pleased that the government has put in place the essential deals we need in order to leave. Of course, we needed an aviation deal and a haulage deal and a government procurement deal and all the rest of it. And those things have been sorted out, I'm told, over the long 2 years, 8 months that have elapsed since the original vote. And I'm very pleased that the government, in parallel, with constantly telling us it was going to get an agreement that we would like, carried on with so-called no-deal planning, which, as I've said, is many-deal planning. It's having a series of lesser deals to make sure that things work smoothly so that we were in a good position, so that we had options. I wish to develop my argument a little. So the government put us in that position, and I think what we haven't heard from the Minister, but more importantly from the Prime Minister who is responsible for this, what the case is for this delay that we are now being asked to approve in United Kingdom legislation. Because it seems to be mainly geared to the idea that this House will accept the withdrawal agreement after we should have left rather than before we were going to leave. But we now learn that the actual deal offered was not allowing the government up until May or early June to put the thing through. The EU was very tough on the government and said you actually have to get the withdrawal agreement through before the official leaving date of the 29th of March under the previous understanding, leaving the government now only a couple of days to do that. And the question must be to the government, why has it taken so long to get this agreement into a shape which the House would pass? And why have they been so dilatory about presenting or representing this agreement, or even better, why didn't they renegotiate it to get it into a form where it might be worth considering again? Because there is, as the Speaker has rightly posed to the government, the issue of, is there any point in constantly bringing the same thing back time and time again when the answer is negative? And the government has not really set out today, in the context of wishing a delay, why suddenly it would be different now that they've left it for so long, and why did they leave it so long if it was so time critical? They've had plenty of months from the original Chequers disaster when they first adumbrated this policy and had mass resignations from the government and the Conservative Party, through to today when many more resignations later there is still a considerable reluctance by sections of the governing party to vote for the withdrawal agreement. So I fear I'm not free to support this proposal this evening, because I think there hasn't been a good case for delay, and I don't think they've made the case with the public as to why we have to be let down when there was such a very clear promise embedded into the law, into the Withdrawal Act, which this Parliament passed. And I would recommend to the government that they think again about how they wish to use the time they are trying to buy. I also have a lot of sympathy with my honourable friend from Stone over the crowning irony of the position the government has placed us in, where they are claiming superior European law to do something that the Leave majority in this country does not want them to do, but they're not so sure of their legal ground that they want this House to actually endorse it, because they know otherwise there might be legal difficulties. But to do it on the very piece of legislation which is taking back control is just almost unbelievable. This House has rightly decided to back the vote of the British people and by a solemn statute say we are taking back control, and from the day that that comes into effect, all laws and matters relating to government and public business will be settled in this House of Commons and not by the EU. And we're now told that the Prime Minister can have a conversation in an evening meeting around a council meeting in Brussels. She can be pushed off her request and given something completely different from her request, and we're told that trumps anything the UK Parliament does. Well, if you wanted to sum up why 17.4 million people voted the way you did, you couldn't do better than take that example. We do not want this House sidelined or presumed upon. This House should decide when we leave the European Union, and it shouldn't have been settled in that way.